There are very few things within the actual game of Magic that make me salty. But outside the game, there are things players can do which tick me off. One is acting like a small bean. It's the, oh, don't hit me, I haven't done anything, I'm not a real threat, when they are very clearly the threat or about to be the threat. This happens very often with ramp decks, when they have ramped into 10 mana but have yet to find a finisher, or players that have 2 combo pieces in play and are just waiting for the third one to show up. Or maybe the player that just cast card draw and tutors all game but hasn't actually committed to the board. All of these are things that their deck does, but they haven't won the game yet. So they are acting as the small bean who hasn't actually done anything. Simply downplaying the power of your deck can be pretty frustrating to deal with. At best, it's just annoying and the player is whining a lot, and at worst, it feels underhanded, almost as if you are tricking a player into believing that you are not the threat. You haven't done anything. All you've done is ramp, draw cards, and cast tutors. You have nothing on board. But that doesn't mean you're not a threat, and it doesn't mean that it is not correct threat assessment to attack you as that player. This is where a lot of new players get bamboozled by combos or ramp decks and just lose to them, quote unquote, out of nowhere, because they don't have a thing on board that currently does damage, but it doesn't mean that they don't have something in hand. Whiny small bean players make for bad game experiences, and I think a lot of people agree, which is why in this video I want to suggest the idea that sometimes you should try to be the opposite, the big bad at the table, the archenemy. But first, I just opened all of these new Edge of Eternity cards from drafting, and now I have to sort them into my collection. Normally, Jojo, my card sorting lizard, would help me out, but he was injured battling the Goblin King. It was brutal. Hang in there, little buddy, a cleric's on the way. So now I need a new way to sort my cards, which is why I use Card Castle, the easy way to sort your collection digitally. You can use them to scan and sort your cards, plus making an account and scanning 1,000 cards is completely free. Additionally, they have a card sorting robot, which does the work of 100 card sorting lizards. Sorry, Jojo. And you can use the link below to find a local game store that has a card bot. And then when you go there, you can log in to your account to scan your cards at the store. So click the link below to make an account and see if your local game store has a card bot, and then you can easily clear through 1,000 plus cards in no time. Thanks to Card Castle for sponsoring the video. So what is archenemy? Well, it's a game mode for Commander, which is a 3v1 and not the subject of this video. When I say archenemy here, I mean whomever is the main threat at the table. Now, in an average game of Commander, the archenemy might shift around a lot. It can be one player who got off to a fast start with a Soul Ring, but then they get hit with removal from 3 players, and the archenemy title might get swapped to someone else who got off to a slightly slower but still powerful start. And who the archenemy is might not always be clear. It can be difficult to determine who is actually the most threatening player at the table. Now, you can also bestow the title of archenemy onto yourself. At the start of a game, you can announce that your deck is strong and will crush everyone. Or in the middle of a game, you can tell players you are close to a combo win, or steer removal towards your things and let your opponents know that your cards are more dangerous than they might seem. But why even do this? Wasn't it Sun Tzu who said never interrupt an opponent when they're making a mistake? Well, it wasn't. Actually, it was Napoleon who said that. That's actually a commonly misattributed quote. Sun Tzu said the other thing. Regardless, that statement is true when you want to win. If your opponent is about to spend crucial removal on a random creature and you've got a combo piece in play, if you're trying to win, you should let them waste the removal. But in casual EDH, with nothing on the line, winning due to a misplay or an opponent simply not understanding what is going on doesn't really have the same weight. You're not going to move on in a tournament. You're just going to say, damn, you sure did waste that removal, slam your Galta, and then win the game. Realistically, do you want to win because you outplayed your opponent, or because they played poorly? I know what I prefer. Making yourself the archenemy can also help alleviate some feels bad moments. Sometimes, if you feel your deck is slightly stronger than the average bracket 3 list, saying that you are the archenemy can help balance the game. Instead of having players make wrong threat assessment decisions, they will then appropriately focus on your list, or at least respect it a bit more, maybe hold up interaction more often, leading to a more fair and balanced game. Now, of course, you shouldn't just start every game by telling your opponents they need to beat you up. And you shouldn't just tell everyone that they have to use all the removal on you. There's a method to the madness here. The idea of purposefully being the archenemy is to make the game more fair. But if you stack the odds too much against yourself, then it's going to be an imbalanced game again. So how do we do this? The easy way to promote yourself as the archenemy is when it is true. Here's an example. When I play the Millennium Calendar in my Taunos list, apparently I'm mispronouncing this name, Taunos, yeah? Anyway, many players might not know that with my commander and some other ways to untap this artifact, I can destroy the whole table. So I'll let them know that this puts them on a 1 turn cycle clock. But once my untappers or the calendar get destroyed, I'm no longer going to promote myself as the archenemy since I'm not the threat. But that's the obvious way to be the archenemy, right? Just be honest about your current board state as it fluctuates within the game. What if you want to be the archenemy from turn 0? The easy solution is to just build a strong deck. And this is both easy and hard to do. To actually 3v1 the table and lead to a fun archenemy game, you gotta be going to Value Town. I've had players in the past say their deck is strong and mean or whatever, but usually those just fold to a single board wipe. What you should be doing is playing broken green cards, or black cards. The idea is card advantage and mana to cast those spells. The turbo ramp strategy is basically unbeatable in casual EDH, so you might as well be the archenemy. In black, you can be Reanimator or looping stuff from the yard for infinite value. Of course, you can be the archenemy in any way you want, fully power up your Baral deck or whatever, but just know that you're going to need a lot of cards if you want to be the big bad at the table. Without card draw, your deck will just lose to removal and you won't be an effective archenemy. Here are some more specific commander suggestions. Thrasios and, well, any partner really. Maybe Kodama. Thrasios is a comically overpowered card. All you need for this deck to work is to play a ton of ramp, big monsters, and a healthy amount of counter magic, and you can 3v1 many tables. The new Tunuk Steadfast Second is another option, or any other red cheat stuff into play commanders. Cheating in an Itali, Blightsteel, or whatever crazy monster you can think of is very scary and very strong. And if you just make it clear that your deck is unapologetically scary, then players will understand that from the get-go. Or if you're playing something like Luris in the command zone as a combo aristocrats deck, letting people know you are rushing for a combo means they won't be caught off guard. Use a few other commander suggestions. Korvold, the good one. Urza, the good one. Grayson Starn, Kellermorph, with Curiosity effects. Omnath, but mostly Locus of Creation, but the other ones are good too. And Storm Force of Nature. Here are some specific card suggestions to help you be archenemy. Greater Good, Life's Legacy, Momentous Fall, Great Henge. Alright, maybe I'll suggest a few non-green ones. Necropotence, Necrodominance, One Ring, blue cards that let you draw stuff when you cast things, and Seedborn Muse. Had to get in one more green card. A lot of the commanders that I talked about here are normally commanders that do the thing and win directly off of it, or they're commanders that produce a monstrous amount of advantage and are thus kill on sight, which normally means I would urge players to avoid these commanders, because it leads to poor gameplay experiences. Either free wins because your opponents have no idea how strong the card is, or you get sucked into a 3v1. And the problem with trying to build these commanders as a quote-unquote fair version is they're still not very fair, or they're still probably stronger than your opponent's stuff, so you're going to get focused down regardless. You still just win if you do the thing, or you might take a player out of the game very quickly. But instead, if you just make the unfair version of the commander, power up the deck, and let people know that, you can take it as a challenge and build these commanders to be a 3v1 type situation. And there is some freedom in having the scary deck at the table. You don't need to make political deals or think about who to attack. You got 3 enemies basically on a team against you. Just attack one of them. And if you get hit with removal, yeah, they're basically a team. You're not getting picked on. There are times when I want to play a slow control deck, play for second place mostly, and then sneak in the win late game. And there are times when I'm not the threat and will implore my opponents to attack other players. But I never lie. If I am the threat, I am fine with getting hit, and that makes sense. And sometimes I want to play the aggro deck, the big green stompy deck that smashes the table, and see if my opponents can keep up. I think with brackets and power level matching, we get lost in the sauce of trying to make sure all 4 decks are the exact same power level. But that is pretty tricky to do. What's easy is to make an unabashedly strong deck that has powerful play patterns and say to the table, bring it. Anyway, thanks for watching. Those are my thoughts about sometimes when you might want to be the archenemy, and why I really don't like it when people whine. I think it's very annoying. Special thanks to my tier 3 patrons whose names you see here. If you want to be in the credits or check out any of the other patron perks, click the link below.